Hello and welcome to Capital Games Movie Club. I am The Wiz. Today we're going to continue our trek through the Sight and Sound Top 100, and we're going to review the Dolce Vita, the Federico Fellini film from 1960, starring Marcello Mastroianni, Ida Ekberg, Anouk Aimée, and Yvonne Fernreau. Let me tell you how I got into Federico Fellini. It was around, I think, 97, 98. I was in high school at the time. I really wanted to get to see different types of films. I was looking at the library one day not after school, but during lunchtime, where I went to school. They allowed the students to leave the premises to go to lunch. And at the time, I went to the library. And I went into the movie section. I didn't realize it had a movie section at the time. That shows how much I went to the library. I was checking out all these movies, and I saw the film 8½. Now, I don't remember where exactly I read up about 8½. I think I read it from Entertainment Weekly. I had a subscription for a while in high school and in middle school to Entertainment Weekly, so that must have been the reason I recognized the film. And when I saw it, I was like, you know what, I'll rent it, I'll check it out, and watched it and absolutely adored it. Did I get it all the way? No, not really, but I definitely enjoyed it. Since then I've always been interested in watching Fellini films. Have I gotten around to watching a lot of his films? No. That's just how it started coming to be at that point. But I wanted to see more of his films. It was just hard to get them. If I recall correctly, the foreign language section of my library was literally a shelf at the time, and 8½, was just lucky to be there. I used to go to the library every week before the pandemic happened. It went from a shelf to like a whole section of the library's AV area, which wasn't much, so that they didn't make it bigger than it was before then. So I didn't really get a chance to see more foreign language films until I would say Netflix became a big thing and was able to get discs sent over to your house and everything. And that's how I started watching films like Y Tu Mamá También, and I got to see Yojimbo and stuff like that. So that's essentially how I started getting into foreign language films and started really enjoying the different types of films that different types of countries had. And it really started with Fellini's 8½. I honestly feel if I didn't like Fellini's 8½, I probably would have stopped even trying to watch foreign language films, so I guess I got lucked out. I've always meant to see La Dolce Vita because I keep hearing that this movie is his best movie. And so when I popped it into my player today to watch it, I was excited to see it. So let me get to my thoughts of the movie. Like The Leopard, you can definitely see that the way the film is shot and everything is of a high standard quality. Even though it is in black and white, gorgeous to look at. Everything from the settings to the way the film's shot, to the lighting, and everything is just gorgeously done. Of course, it's in black and white, so it's not going to be as eye-popping as something like The Leopard, but the scenes that they make in the movie really do well with the black and white of the film that is shot in. It looks utterly gorgeous in this movie. And I want to say this before I even continue. I don't know what it is about Fellini and him shooting women in his films, but I really have never seen women shot so damn well than in a Fellini film. They're always just gorgeous looking, no matter what they look like. They are absolutely breathtaking to look at. And yes, the women in the movie are very attractive women, but even so, it was just eye-popping to see some of the women in this movie and just how utterly gorgeous they look. And that's also to do with their costumes and the clothes they wear. I think it's mostly Gucci that they were wearing in this movie. It really looked amazing to look at. And then on top of having these absolutely gorgeous women that are in these costumes, even like in the backgrounds, they were just utterly just gorgeous to look at. So in terms of eye candy and in terms of the looks and the aesthetics of the movie itself, La Dolce Vita is utterly gorgeous. Like, it is really good looking. I'll get into the music as well. This is another movie that is scored by Nino Rota. We did The Leopard last week, and that had a Nino Rota score as well. And like The Leopard, it's a really good score. I don't think it's as good as The Leopard, but it definitely fits with the movie and with what's going on in the movie as well as the movie is going on. So it's not a bombastic kind of showy score like it was in The Leopard, but I definitely like the music in this movie as well. Let's get into performances real quick. Marcello Mastroianni is really good as Marcello in the movie. He plays a tabloid journalist who, I guess the best way is he's having apathy and just is not really loving the life that he is in, despite being surrounded by beautiful people doing all sorts of extravagant things in beautiful places. He seems more apathetic to what's going on, not only professionally, but also personally with the person that he is dating, who is his longtime girlfriend, Emma, played by Yvonne Ferreau. He does give a very good performance in this movie for a character that you don't really root for him. You just slowly see him decline as the movie goes on. In the beginning of the movie, you catch on quick that he's a philanderer and he's just somebody who sleeps with a lot of women despite being in a long-term relationship. He essentially meanders and goes through everything that's in the movie. He's first voyeuristic, but he morphs into the scenery in all instances where he gets involved to a point where it kind of, how do I put this? My interpretation is that he was already, I would say, I guess, damaged to a certain extent by the life that he led of excess and of just being in this kind of lifestyle. But I guess the movie is just a gradual degradation of basically him struggling with if he wanted to become something more or if he wanted to just live his life as a playboy and do the things that he is doing, that he is obviously good at, but he is unfulfilled by. The movie tries to, in certain circumstances, it tries to make you feel like he is struggling with that, but in essence, he really is not. The way I interpret the film is that this is not about a person who is struggling to find if he wants to be authentic or if he wants to just live in that life of excess. It's basically a movie about a guy who slowly gets enveloped into that lifestyle to where it's, fuck it, who cares? I live a beautiful life, whatever. I'll just live it. I'll live it like that. It is my interpretation of the movie itself. And Mastroianni does a really good job as a character of not only making him more in depth than maybe most actors would, but he would also, you can understand why people want to be around him. He is a charming person. He is handsome. He is debonair. He is somebody that people want to be around. But he doesn't shy away from the darkness that he has, the terrible things that he is capable of in this movie. But it's not done overly dramatic. It's done to a certain extent where you believe the continual degradation of his soul when it happens in this movie. I want to give a special shout out to Anita Ekberg, who has a small role in this as Sylvia, who is a Swedish movie star in the movie, who, again, utterly fucking gorgeous, but she plays this character who is more childlike than anything. She plays her really well, and not in a circumstance where it's weird and kind of annoying how she is, but This type of person that you can believe exists because she lives such a incredibly charmed life, and I mean incredibly charmed, where she is fawned over by the media, loves the attention, loves being the center of attention, and just relishes every single moment of it as she is going on, which also is in contrast to Maddalena, who was played by Anoka May, another very good performance in this, where she is also somebody who is highly popular and highly sought after by the media, but does not want that and tries to not get into that and just have that thrust upon her, and her general feelings and her and thoughts of how that is and why she has to live that life and how much she does not like it to that certain extent. The person who plays Emma, who is Yvonne Farrow, does a pretty good performance in this. A part of me wonders if this character could have been written out to a certain extent. I guess she's the character that pretty much opens up the fact that Marcello is not a good person, essentially, with what he does to her and what he drives her to become and to do. So maybe that's the only purpose that it is, but it is a fairly one-note character that you still kind of feel bad for, but I generally came away from it going, the character needed to be written in certain scenes just to have her there. There was really no essential purpose for her to be there. Now, some might actually say that's the point of the movie because there really isn't a purpose to what's going on, and I kind of disagree with that. I generally feel with this movie that Emma, the character of Emma in this movie, could have possibly been cut or made a little less of a central figure in this movie. So an issue I have with the movie itself. So let me just get into the meat of my review of this. After I watched the movie, I had to really think about how I felt about the film. I got the message that it was not even just the message, but what it was about, which is again, my interpretation is it's about the degradation of a man who is exposed to all this excess and what it does to him gradually as he is constantly more and more exposed to it. Well, that's my interpretation. I think others have another interpretation when it comes to the film, which I would love to hear when it comes to La Dolce Vita. But like I said, there are certain things in this movie I have a hard time coming up with reasons why they're there. I'm not going to get into well, okay, you know what? I think I will to a certain extent. I'm going to talk a little bit of spoilers here. I'll give you 5 seconds if you want to stop, and you can stop, come back, and then whatever. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for spoilers. So in the middle of the movie, 2 kids apparently see the Madonna, which is a religious figure in, I believe, in Catholicism. I'm not entirely sure. I think it is Roman Catholicism. These kids apparently see the Madonna, and it becomes a big media spectacle where they get arrested, they come, and just this thing happens in the movie that's about 10-15 minutes long, and Marcello and Emma are there. Marcello's trying to cover the story. Emma is just there with Marcello for whatever reason. Again, a gorgeous looking scene, but I came away with it really wondering why it's there and why exactly are we watching this scene and what is the point of it. Fellini is really not a director that, in my mind, doesn't seem like a director that just has things there for them to be there to a certain extent. That may be true in some of his movies, but I don't think this is the point of this specifically. Maybe it's the interpretation of him seeing something that's supposed to be divine and life-changing and it has no effect to him. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I didn't really get why the scene was there in the first place, other than to maybe give a little more character to Emma, which didn't really work that well. That's one scene. The point of the film, really, I'll get out of spoilers here. The point of the film, really, it's a film where it's about excess and extravagance and boredom. Decadence and boredom is basically what the film is essentially about. It also critiques press photography, the bourgeois society, and the special attention to stars that they get and everything. It also talks about that to a certain extent. These scenes, there are a couple of scenes in this movie, the one I just mentioned, that I really felt didn't need to be there. The other scene is, I think, the scene with his dad. Like, I felt it was kind of strange that his dad was there at a point in the movie. Now, this could be an interpretation you might have, is that his dad being there is more of a sign of his humanity than anything else, but that would be in contrast to what happens at the end of the movie, essentially. This is definitely a movie I think that I may watch again and get more out of it at another time, but I have a couple of issues. So, is it bad? No, but I do have issues with the film, essentially, but I would love to hear what you guys think and what your interpretations of those scenes are. So let's get into the final thoughts on the Dolce Vita. I think it is a supremely well-made film. It is gorgeous looking. The way that Fellini shoots his scenes and shoots his subjects is impeccable. I love the way the film looks. I love the music in it. The performances are great. I just questioned a couple of things that are in the movie and why they're there. But other than that, I think it's a really good movie. I definitely understand why this is on the top 100 on Sight and Sound. So I'm not wondering why this is there, because it is a beautiful looking movie that is relatively deep for a movie that really is about excess and living skin deep to a certain extent. I'm going to give the movie 4 stars, like I did with The Leopard. Although I am much more comfortable giving this a 4 stars than The Leopard. This is, again, a really well-made movie. This might be another movie that just grows on me as time goes on, and I think about it more, and I watch it multiple times. But just aesthetically, it is a really good-looking, really eye-pleasing movie with great music and great performances. And if you are a Fellini fan, or if you just like really good-looking movies, you have to watch this movie. This is a really good-looking movie that you should have probably already watched, and maybe I should have watched at some point too. But yeah, 4 stars for La Dolce Vita. I highly recommend it. It's a great movie. Okay, so we are at the end of the review, but at this point I'm going to talk about what I'm going to be watching next week, or next time. I'm going to try and get another episode during the week. We're going to watch the Claire Denis film Beau Travail from 1999. This is number 7 on the BFI Sight and Sound Top 100. And again, another film that I have heard a lot of great things about. So I am definitely excited about watching this film. So if you want to join me on this, you can watch Claire Denis' Beau Travail. And it's on HBO Max, so if you want to catch the streaming, you can. Otherwise, tune in next time where I watch Beau Travail, the 1999 film by Claire Denis. I am The Wiz. This is the Capital Games Movie Club. Talk to you next time. Bye.